Well, greetings and welcome everyone, and welcome to another edition of Karl's Spirits. This is episode 64, and today we are going to be reviewing and tasting McKenzie Bottled in Bond. That's McKenzie Bottled in Bond. It's a bourbon whiskey out of New York State. That's right, another New York State bourbon. So we're going to see how this one kind of compares with some of the other New York bourbons we've had in the past. First of all, McKenzie is a product of the Finger Lakes Distilling Company. They are located in Burdett, New York. And Finger Lakes Distilling is exactly in the middle of the Finger Lakes District of New York State. That's in the western part of the state. There's several lakes that kind of hang down. They look like fingers. That's where the name comes from. Burdett is right on the shore of Seneca Lake, one of the major lakes in the area. In addition to Finger Lakes Distilling, there are a number of wineries in the area. So it's one of those areas that they've really brought a lot into the economy through distilling, through winemaking, and things like that. So Finger Lakes is a craft distiller, and they are using locally sourced grains, so New York State grains. And as you may have noticed, this is a wheated bourbon. Got the little wheat sheaths on the side here to kind of give that away. So they're trying to use New York wheat, New York corn, and that's what's going into this particular bottle. They really pride themselves on customer transparency. They've released several different products, a rye, a 91 proof bourbon, and as of December of 2020, the McKenzie Bottled in Bond. Finger Lakes also takes a little bit different approach to aging than most. They try to enter the barrel right at 100 proof. Usually distillers try to enter the barrel between 115, 125 proof. Finger Lakes claims that this helps preserve the flavor of their natural grains. So we're going to kind of get into the tasting and kind of see where that comes out. But the mash bill here is at 70% corn, so it's a very high corn, should be pretty sweet. 20% wheat, so we're at 90% for the wheat and the corn. And then 10% malted barley. And as I mentioned, this is a wheated barley, and it is also a bottled in bond. So it fits into the regulations, the rules established by the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897. If you don't know what those are, we've reviewed those in past episodes. I would refer you back to those and check them out. By law, this is at least 4 years old, and it was entered into new American oak barrels and aged for a minimum of 4 years. So let's take a pour of this and kind of see where we are. First of all, copper color. And I'm going to call this a light copper. I've seen some that are much darker, others that don't quite have that, but this is a really nice coppery color. And the other thing that really impresses me is the legs. They are not the fattest legs I've seen on a bourbon, but they're what I'm going to call medium. But they really, really stick. They are not moving. They're just kind of hanging there. Only now are they beginning to kind of slowly come down the side of the glass. Excuse me about that. So, nose to me is very attractive. It presents with a caramel bomb, if you will. And there's a lot of sweetness to that, as you might imagine. But it also has a very dry undertone to it. And I'm going to call that dry undertone a sawdust. Now, this is not your typical hickory or oak sawdust that you might find in a lot of other bourbons. And believe it or not, I'm going to call this cedar. It's got a very sweet, sickly sweet smell to it, like a cedar does. And something I've noticed, and I've spent some time with this bottle, one thing I've noticed as you let this thing air, notes of chocolate really begin to appear on the nose. So let's go ahead and take a taste of this and see where we are. It's very soft on the front of the tongue, as you would expect from a wheater. But immediately after that softness, it hits with a lot of black pepper on the edges of my tongue and toward the back. But once that pepper dissipates after a few seconds, it leaves a really neat caramel and kind of a dark chocolate. Not a bitter chocolate, but a sweet dark chocolate taste. I like those tastes. I like those flavors myself. Now, the finish here is not very long. It really isn't. But it is also a nice finish. Now, I know that doesn't quite make sense. I usually like something that really hits me in the chest, gets me a good Kentucky hug. This doesn't quite do that. It's a warm finish. It doesn't linger overly long, but those notes of chocolate and caramel that are there, they're warm, they're inviting, and I think there's a lot here for the experienced drinker as well as the novice. And I think that's true if you like sweetness in your bourbon, and I certainly do. And we've talked a lot of times how bourbon is subjective. It's what you like, and that's okay, because everyone's tastes are going to be different. I like sweetness in my bourbon. I like a little heat, but I like the sweetness to predominate. And this, in the McKenzie Bottled in Bond, it definitely does that. So, my takeaways here. I really think this is one of the absolute best bottles of bourbon out of New York that I've ever tried. Certainly better than, and I'm not going to name some of them, but I've reviewed a previous couple of New York bourbons on here for sure, at least 2 or 3. Definitely better than those. I really enjoy everything about this particular pour. For around a $50 bottle, that's a little high for some people, I believe. But I also believe that it is by far a better pour. It's a better bottle than many, if not most, of the other so-called craft distillers out there. So I really think you're getting a lot of bang for your buck at $50. Quite honestly, there's some major distillers to put out a product that's in the $50 range, and I truly believe this is better than that. So this is really a really fun bottle. I really enjoyed the Finger Lakes Distilling McKenzie Bottled in Bond. I'm always a sucker for a bottled in bond. I like to see those flavors. But my only real critique, and it's very, very minor, even though it has flavors I absolutely love, that chocolate and that caramel, I just wish the finish would linger a little bit longer than it does. For me, it's only a 3 to 5 second finish. I'd love to see that hit that 10 to 15 mark and just really stick with you, and you could really milk those notes. And I think that'd be a lot of fun. I enjoy that sweetness though. I just wish there were more of it. So that's my only big critique here. So overall, Karl rating, I'm going to go 4.25 stars. That's 4.25 stars. Now remember, bourbon is subjective. Everyone's different. This is my take. That's the way it is. That's okay. And as always, I want to wish everyone peace and happy pours.